Hey, I want to go to Jim Vandehei, despite the fact that he believes
Let's go for the good stuff.
I'm with David McIntosh. Not that I hold grudges, but 28 years ago, let David McIntosh give him some bogus information about me off the record, then ran it roll call. But I don't keep score. I don't keep score. But I agree with Vandehei, so I want to go to him despite that. So, Jim,
just stick to the good stuff, Joe.
Yes, Joe. Jim, I'm looking at your latest masterwork, and it cuts against everything we hear in politics today. Everything. But, you know, Meek and I have given speeches around this country in years past before we became hermits, and we still get out a good bit. We are surrounded in our life by people who support Donald Trump. We don't understand why they support Donald Trump, but you get beneath that, right? Yeah. You get past the and I call it surface tribalism, the tribalism, and you start asking them basic questions, and you start talking about America, and you start complaining about whether it's crime or whatever it is. We could say Roe v. Wade. I mean, we could talk about all these things, and you get beneath the surface. And what is so surprising is how much people agree. Like, I've always said it, whether I'm talking to a mom or a dad on the Upper West Side or Demopolis, Alabama, I'm not being hokey. They want the same thing for the kids. Chances are good they feel the same about a ton of issues. Now, you step into the whole political sphere, and then when it's Trump versus Hillary, then then suddenly things separate. But Americans are a lot. That's why when I hear Civil War, I go, please. They'll take it out on the football field on Friday night.
No doubt. And I do the same thing as you do. Like, you travel, you try to talk to people, who are really partisan, try to get beneath the surface. And I increasingly have come to the conclusion that 70 to 80% of people are actually normal. They're not all worked up about the things that people get worked up about. And that the reality of it is that we really have been in this distortion machine. Like, if you're on Twitter or X all day, if you're living on TikTok, or you're marinating in even some of the topics that we deal with every day, what happens is the people who have the loudest voices, who often say the most provocative things, tend to dominate that conversation. And it leaves you thinking, like, wait, does everyone think this? Does everyone feel this? Is everyone so worked up that they're about to, maybe conduct a civil war to defend their party versus the other? And you realize, no, like, most people actually have a life. Most people aren't making politics of the beer you drink or the store that you shop at. And most, one of the examples I use in there is, like, I go to church. I know tons of people that are Catholics, Christians, name every different denomination. Like, most people aren't, like, thinking that Trump is sent from God to offer salvation to the people. Like, are there fringe people who think nutty things? Yes. Have there always been fringe people who think nutty things? Absolutely. But what's different is there's just a new way to amplify that through social media, sometimes through the most partisan people on cable, and certainly through these tribal battles that we see at the base of the two parties. But that's just, I don't think America. There's a great AP poll out last week that basically asked both parties, do you believe in freedom of speech and freedom to petition and freedom to live the way you want to live? And, like, almost every Democrat and every Republican, looking back at the founding principles of the Constitution, they agree with all of it. Yes, they disagree on the edges about how you're going to actually turn that into public policy. But I think that there's a reason we're all wondering, is this real? Because it's not clear what's real, especially when people are getting information in so many different realities, right? Your kids on TikTok, you and I maybe through the New York Times, Morning Joe, Axios, other publications. But if you're a Trumper, you might be getting it through podcasts that most people have never heard of. Or if you're, a tech bro, you might be watching or listening to All In and getting your news from Elon Musk. It's just very distorting. And I think it's important to remind people that I do think the country is mostly sane.
Jim, I couldn't agree more. I'm so glad you wrote this piece. I call them the normies. It's when you're out in the world at the grocery store, on the sideline of a basketball game, or you're at church, or you're doing anything that normal people do, which is the vast majority of the country. They are not frothing at the mouth about so much of what we hear about on social media and on TV sometimes. But what I think gets some people is many of the normies that we live with and know and like to consider ourselves to be in many ways, they do vote in many cases, 74 million of them last time, for someone who so violates so much of what they stand for. You know, whether you're an evangelical Christian or you're somebody who believes that January 6th was a terrible day or that you shouldn't terminate the Constitution, all those things, that's where the friction comes in a little bit. We agree on so much, and yet you're willing to put your vote forward for someone who disagrees with so much of what you're about.
Yeah, politics has become very toxic, and certainly Donald Trump has made it more toxic, given the words that he uses, the issues that he takes advantage of. He sees what we see in this reality distortion machine. He's been a master at it. But I've never thought that he's the cause. He's a symptom of it, maybe a big symptom of it. But a lot of this stuff exists nonetheless. But when you talk to those Trump supporters, like when you get outside of the big cities, you talk to them and you really push them on what they believe. Like, yeah, maybe they're telling a pollster they think the election was stolen, but the more you talk to them, they don't really feel that. They just think that they don't trust anything. They don't trust institutions. They don't trust the media. So it's kind of like a middle finger to pollsters, the media, and to politics in general. And by the way, if you really thought that the election was stolen, if like tens of millions of people, you would just passively say, oh, yeah, it was stolen. I'm not going to do anything about it. You'd storm the streets if you actually believed in your bones in large numbers that was the truth. And that's the tribal nature that you're seeing in politics. And a little bit of this is because so many people have torn down all the institutions that held all of us together when we were kids, right? Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, churches, business, government, media. When everyone trusts nothing and everyone is just like left on their own, you kind of get the politics that you have today. And I think, I think about this a lot through the lens of my kids and like trying to remind them, like, I don't understand why people are always so hangdog about things. Like, for all of the flaws we have, even think about what we went through the last 8 years, like the country's kind of killing it. Like, who invented AI, the generative AI? We did. Who's leading on it decisively? We did. Who's scared? China. How about our GDP? How about our economic growth? Like, yes, there's income inequality. It'd be great if we didn't have it, but I think anyone in Europe, anyone in China, most countries in Asia would love to be in the position that the United States is in. Oh, by the way, we're crushing it on creating our own energy, including renewable energies. Where's a lot of that being done? In red states. Does anyone pay attention to it? No, because no one really cares about areas where people get along. It's much easier to get worked up about things that play to our passions.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.